down.
Yes, I know. I'm shooting video also at the moment, so they don't have the people here yet. Good afternoon, Colonel Donna Luzinski, Luszczynski. First, I want to thank you for being out here. I know it's been some time, so I appreciate your time. I just want to start with a brief recap. Last night at about 1:43, we received a 911 call about a disturbance that was occurring in one of the residences here. Our deputies responded to the scene, found our victim deceased in front of the residence. He was shot multiple times. The victim has since been identified as Brian Vessel, Vessell, a white male, date of birth 12/27/71. Our deputies then did a cursory search of the residence to make sure there were no victims, at which point they came into contact with a 100-pound pit bull inside the residence, so we secured that while we obtained a search warrant. During the course of our investigation, we had information that led us to believe that Tyler Barden was involved. We put out an alert for him and we're searching for him. During the course of our investigation, we received additional information that led us to believe that Tyler may be still hiding somewhere in that apartment. So in an abundance of caution, we called out our crisis negotiation team as well as our SWAT team to try to bring this to a peaceful resolution, and if the subject was indeed inside. We began negotiations, attempting to contact the subject, which we received negative results. I think most of you probably heard our flashbang, our distraction device, go off at one point. That was done outside the residence, again, to try to establish contact with him and to get him to exit the residence. Because, again, we knew he possibly was armed with a firearm. And then shortly at about 11:45, the subject was seen running to the rear of the residence, tried to come out the back door when he encountered his deputies who were there. And we are currently in the process of continuing to processing and executing that search warrant now that we have made entry. And I think what you hear were the dogs that were in the residence. There was a large pit bull, as I said, and a chihuahua.
Can you tell us the relationship of the victim to the folks in this apartment?
Yes, the victim lived at this apartment with his girlfriend, in addition to the girlfriend's son. So the victim and the son, her son, had an altercation resulting in his death. And we're currently in the process of investigating that and determining if there were potentially any self-defense issues, what were the exact circumstances.
So right now, Mr. Barden is not facing any charges at this point?
Not at this point. We still are attempting to talk to him, and then we'll have to evaluate that once we get what information we get from him.
Can you tell me the name of the victim again?
Sure. It's Brian Vessel, Vessell, date of birth 12/27/71. Excuse me.
Have there been other calls here before to this?
There have been some calls to this residence, and again, that's stuff that we have been trying to go through today, and got kind of distracted with this one once he found he was possibly inside the residence. But there were some domestic calls, and we're just trying to determine if it was the victim and suspect that were involved in this.
And that's V as in violin?
Yes, ma'am.
And then common spelling of Brian,
Yes.
B-R-I-A-N.
Have
gotten any indication of what the altercation stemmed from, what the source of the dispute was?
No, I do not have that information. Again, once we had additional information that he was possibly hiding in the residence, we kind of had to slow down and make sure that we brought this to a peaceful conclusion first prior to conducting the rest of our investigation.
Did you recover a firearm?
Again, we're just got into that apartment, so that is something we're certainly going to be looking for.
And did he give up immediately, or was there some kind of struggle? Or?
It appeared he was trying to flee out the back door, but we had 2 deputies there, so they immediately contacted him and came into contact with him. There was not a physical altercation.
Had he ever left the apartment, or was he in there the whole time? Do you know?
We are not sure at this point. That's something we're going to try to ascertain from him.
Do we know if the victim was armed at all?
The victim,
That died?
at this point, we have no reason to believe that, but again, we don't have his side of the story. We don't have our suspect's side of the story at this point.
So
There was no gun recovered around him immediately.
Did the mother witness the altercation and the shooting?
There were parts that she witnessed, and that's what we're still trying to go through. Again, as I said, kind of once we found he was secured in there, we had to take care of certain issues first.
So you guys cleared the residence, or went in the residence where the dogs were at, the actual residence he was still hiding in?
Yes. Again, we do a cursory search because we don't have a search warrant at that point, so we need to secure and get that search warrant.
So could you explain again the altercation? Was it a case of Barden protecting his mother?
Again, without him, we haven't had an opportunity to talk to him at this point, so I don't have those details yet.
I guess it's hard to say where in the apartment he was hiding because you didn't go into the apartment.
We believe we saw certain times motions in one of the front bedrooms. The drapes were pulled aside, which confirmed that he was in there, but he then ran down the hallway.
Donna, could this be a self-defense case or even stand your ground case?
It possibly could be, and that's why we need to interview him, and that's why I've been trying to contact him since last night to get his side. And guys, we'll update you with any additional information once we get it, as far as recovery of items in the house. But thank you again for waiting. I know it's been a while.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Danny.
Be right back.
Put out a follow-up video with the guy's name and information.
Hey, Alex, we need a quick interview with him on master story.
Y'all can come home.
Does anybody want video on the interview on the carjacking thing?